Welcome back to Nothing But Nets. The Nets get blown out in the second half by maybe the best team in the league. Defensively, the Nets basically no-showed. We're going to get into that. But I'm joined with my co-host here, Jonathan, who's, from everything Brooklyn Nets. John, introduce yourself. Where can they find you? And give me your opening thoughts on last night's blowout loss to Boston.
Gary, it's always great talking from basketball with you. To anybody who ever wants to talk basketball with me, you can find me on Twitter at OS91413John. We'll have some great conversations. This game was obviously a beatdown by the Celtics, especially in that second half. And for my tank friends out there, they probably had a very happy night. For the people that kind of want this team to maybe eke out a play-in, disappointing night for you. But listen, we got to start with a huge positive. Zaire Williams, man. This guy has been the blue chip prospect reclamation project that we all believed could really amount to something for this team, and he got another start last night. He made full use of it. I mean, he was phenomenal. He had 23 points. He had 6 rebounds. He had an assist, a steal, a block. Like, he just filled up the stat sheet last night. He just looked really confident, especially in that first half. And it's just great for him in his continued development. I look forward to seeing more of what he can do if he somehow gets even more starting opportunities. As far as the rest of the team goes, Thomas didn't really have his best night. Felt like he wasn't really being a part of the offense, and everybody else kind of just had a downer. But Claxton, that's something we're going to get more into in this conversation. I don't know what he's doing right now on the court. Just seems like he's burning a lot of cardio. We're not seeing the defense, and it's a little disappointing right now, for sure.
I want to address this real quick before we get into today's show. Anthony Paris says, just beat the Knicks and we're good. As a Texas Longhorn fan, if I lose every game but beat Oklahoma, I'm happy with the season. If we go 4-0 against the Knicks and lose the rest of our games, are you happy with the season, John?
Oh, I'll be super happy because now that we have control of your future, your future, we just came into your place on Madison Square Garden, the mecca of the sports world, and our team is not as stacked as you're supposed to start fighting. If we beat them once, if we beat them twice, we got ultimate bragging rights regardless of what happens the rest of the way. And we already have bragging rights because we already have had a winning record than the Knicks, which I don't think anybody thought would happen this season. So we've already made a lot of gold without even having to do much so far. So I feel great about it. And as far as this mid-season tournament game, I think Jordy's going to coach it like you go into war. You either come ready to go to battle or you ain't playing on Friday. So it's going to be a great game for both fan bases, and it's going to be a fun battle.
They're definitely responding to Jordy, and we're going to get into that. Boomtown wants to know if I would get the impression lots of people are watching me. I hope so. That was the original intent of the channel, try to get as many Net fans and basketball fans. Boomtown's a Raptors fan watching the show. What up, three siblings? And also, Anthony Paris here is calling you out. John, are you running from BK Hoops?
I'm just focusing on these fun opportunities that come my way. I'm building some great content. I'm building my own brand. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm not focused on anybody trying to ruin that, and I'm just continuing to build my brand right now. So people got a problem with that. That's a you problem, not a me problem. So I'm doing really well right now. I just want to keep those vibes going forward. I'm here to bring fun Brooklyn content on a daily basis, and I'm really enjoying it.
John's everything. He's all things Brooklyn. Which was, I'm not trying to compete with anyone. I'm just trying to bring the Brooklyn Nets community together, content creators together. Like if you are a Nets content creator and you want to come on my show and join me, I'd love to have you. Like, I'm not trying to compete with anyone. I'm trying to build a Brooklyn Nets community of content creators. So there's nothing but love.
Facts.
Oh, hang on one second. John, hang on one second. Yeah, John. DFS hasn't played in 2 games. What are your thoughts on DFS? Is he going to play? Is he done? Has he played his last game as a Brooklyn Net? Is he being traded?
I mean, you would hope so. I mean, the fact he hasn't played 2 straight games, and the ankle thing they talked about wasn't even a big thing. But the fact that Jordy, who honestly, he's many things, subtle is not one of them. He said, I want to be 200%. I mean, it's a minor issue. You don't got to say the word 200%. So what this is telling me is that there might be some teams reaching out to Marks, and he doesn't want to utilize Doe and waste his minutes, especially if a team really covets him. Like, I look at a team like the Pacers. They just lost again to a Magic's team on a back-to-back who are missing Paolo and Carter Jr., which tells me that the Pacers, one of the biggest issues this season is not offense, it's defense and rebounding. And what a guy like Doe can give you is those intangibles. those are going to show up on the stat screen. So I'm looking at a team like them who could maybe be reaching out to us right now. So if this is Doe's last game, it's good for Mux to start getting the ball rolling here because the young guys are ready for the opportunities. Zaire's ready to carve his own path on this team. So I hope sooner rather than later, if Doe's the first piece to go, that just a domino effect on what's going on with these vets. So if this is his last game, it's good for us because we're moving towards getting a top pick at that point.
DFS obviously has some trade value. He's a guy that offers you a little bit of everything. You know, he's a 3-and-D wing, but he can rebound. He can defend wings. He can defend bigs. He can do a lot. What do you ultimately is he going back to Dallas or what's the value for DFS? But would you agree? Would you think that he's played his last game and this ankle injury is that the Nets are moving him?
Well, if he doesn't play Friday, that tells me if you're missing 3 straight games with a very minor issue, it's not a big issue, then he could definitely be on the move. And you look at a team like Dallas, their team honestly has been a little underwhelming this season so far. They haven't really gone out to be one of those top teams. It kind of feels like they're still trying to implement Clay into the whole system. And I feel like they're missing that gritty defensive guy. And Doe and the Mavs was special. His 3-point shot was great. His defense was excellent. He hasn't been the same since he left. So if a team like if Luka wanted a reunion with Doe, that's a team that makes sense. I mean, if they're willing to give up maybe with that 2025 pick they got next year, they get a protected pick. If that's okay, fine. And you want to give us a matching salary, I'll take that. So there's definitely going to be some teams looking at Doe because he does have defensive value. He was guarding Tatum in that last Celtics game, and he actually looked pretty decent. So if you need Doe to guard one of your best players, that we could definitely get some good value back. It may not be multiple first-round picks, and hey, it might not be a first-round pick, but if you could get maybe a prospect and multiple seconds back, I take that as a win as well. Like Sean needs to utilize Doe because his value is not going to get any better than it is right now. His main value is defense, so you got to maximize that. And teams are going to start calling very soon. And if he's not playing, that's definitely could be a reason why.
Is it? Do you think? I mean, he's been linked to a trade with Dallas before at the deadline. They actually sat him a game similar to what they're doing now, and it was rumored that the trade was done. Something happened in the back room. Trade never got done. He was back in Brooklyn. Do you think it's Dallas? Is he? If so, looking at Dallas's roster and draft capital, what are we getting back from Dallas? If it is Dallas, I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that was rumored before.
Well, one player that makes sense is Maxi Kleber. I think his contract, he's got like a year left on it. He would definitely be a matching salary. You look at their prospects, Jaden Hardy, he's got like an $18 million contract, but it's $6 million over 3 years. That could be a bargain contract value for us because it's not a lot of money and we could work with that. But if they could give us that 2025 pick, I think it's a late protected pick or something like that. That's not bad value for us to get something like that back for Doe. We can utilize that as a moving piece, maybe to get into the following draft or something like that. So I would look at Maxi Kleber, maybe a Jaden Hardy or an Oliver Maxence. Those are 2 prospects that could potentially come with that package. That's what I'd be looking at for Doe in a hypothetical. And if we get draft capital, even better.
I'm looking at their draft capital now. They have a 2025 first and second and a 2026 first. It's their own first. Their 2021 second has no protection, and their 2026 pick is their own. So these are unprotected picks. Would you rather – we already have 4 picks in the first round this year. Would you rather the 2025 pick or the 2026 pick if you had your choice from the Mavs?
I think if we have a chance to keep stacking on what we already got for next year's historic draft, I would not be opposed to it because I just looked at a mock draft with Dylan last night, and there's some guys who are at the top of the draft. Now they've been moved down, like Kamen Maliak. He's now around 20-something in the mock draft. Like some of these top guys are now falling down just because of how deep this draft is. So if we have a chance to get another pick on top of what we already have, we can move those pieces to get even to go down in the draft or to go move higher up in the draft to get a player that we want. So I would not be opposed to it. But you also make the interesting case. We only got 2 picks for 2026. You get another pick there. It gives us even more versatility, more optionality with the following draft. So it could go either way. But personally, I'd rather have another draft pick for next year just so we can move more pieces to get any type of prospect we want because it's a really deep draft next year. And some of the top guys are now even moving down. So we have an ultimate advantage with having the most picks next year for sure.
Certainly. I would prefer the 2026 pick. You know, we only have one first round pick and 2 picks in that draft. That's also supposed to be a strong draft. Unless if we get the 2025 pick, can we package? I don't want 5 picks in the first round. Can we package them together and move up? Right? Like if I give you the Bucks pick and this pick, what can I get back in the top 10? Oh, we gotta keep an eye on it. This Bucks pick might end up being a top 10 pick. Like this
if it's 5 to 10, that'd be amazing. But just like you said, that should be the strategy. Even if we somehow add even more picks up, we already have 6 picks for next year. Say we get around 7 or 8, we can definitely utilize some of those picks together to use them to move up even more in the draft. That would be a smart move on Marks's part. So you definitely want to handle next year's draft very strategically. Like getting a top 3 pick. Yes, it's a great goal for Brooklyn, but you also want to get maybe a potential second player that can be a starter or a deep bench piece. Like for Brooklyn next year, we should get at least 2 players, 2 top prospects in that draft for our future. Like if Marks can pull that off, it's great for him. But we definitely got to utilize strategy next year. We cannot just get one top guy and be like, that's it. You know, we'll just draft whoever shows up. Nah, if we have a lot of picks, utilize them to get a potential second piece for sure.
Can we trade him to the Knicks for 6 more first round picks?
I wish. I wish the Knicks had maybe said, hey, do you want Scam Johnson? You know, your twin. Listen, we should make a twin reunion happen. Mikal has not been the same since he lost his twin. And Cam's playing good. He's playing like Kevin Durant with these 3-point shots, fadeaway jumpers. Listen, you want to give us Mitchell Robinson, you want to give us Miles Bryant that last first round pick? We'll make it happen. It'll be an early Christmas special, courtesy of Brooklyn.
So I want to get into the game first, and I want to play this clip from Ziaire Williams, who had a 23-point game. He's in the starting lineup now. I want him to stay there. And it's not that I don't like DFS. We need to be able to move DFS so guys like Ziaire can get their minutes. And I want to play this clip real quick from Ziaire talking about Jordi Fernandez. Now, I know they lost by 23, but it's...
Do you feel like since coming to the Nets, there's anything about the system or the process, the way that Jordi wants to play, that has allowed you to, flourish and have success?
Yeah, 1,000%, man. For sure. Like, shoot, they're just bringing the dog out of me, man. That's the realest way I could put it. Picking up full, being scrappy, just coaching me, and that's what I love, man. That's how I was raised. My father and my lifetime coach, Coach Mosley, man, they cussed at me, yelled, said some crazy things at times, but it was all out of love to get me better, and that's what Jordi does. So he's helped me bring the best out of myself, and I just got to keep on just giving it my all, man. Like, if you play your hardest out there. And
so, Jonathan, Ziaire Williams definitely is turning over a new leaf. He looks like a different player. He's playing with a ton of energy. He's playing with passion. Your thoughts on Ziaire, and has Jordi lit a spark with them? Is this a different player than we saw in Memphis the last couple of years?
100,000,000%. I mean, just the confidence and the fact when Ziaire came to Brooklyn, he said, I feel like I'm free from the cage I was in with Memphis. I wasn't cracking the rotation. I didn't fit in with Ja and the other guys. Listen, Ja loved me, but, I wanted to love myself on the court and be a main piece. And it just felt like Ziaire never could break through that ceiling. But on Brooklyn, he's got a whole new lease on life. Defensively from the get-go, even those preseason games, this guy was diving, falling to announce tables. Like, he came into this season saying, I'm going to make every minute I got on the court count, and the defense has been elite. Claxton said he wants to be the defensive player of the year. I haven't seen it, but I'll be honest. If Ziaire keeps this going around 82 games, he might get a few votes just because his defense has been so in your face, and he had some good moments against Tatum last night. Listen, I know Tatum scored a lot of points, but Ziaire had a few blocks on Tatum. Like, he made it hard for him on some possessions. So Ziaire is definitely building a foundation for himself on his team. And to get starters minutes and have a 20-piece against one of the best teams in the East, good bragging rights for him. And I just hope he continues this. And it's a great thing that Doak could potentially get traded, because we want these young guys to carve roles on this team. We want them to break through this veteran wall that's on the team right now. So The fact that Zaire is getting these minutes is validation, and the fact that Jordy has believed in him, and he loves it. He loves being cussed at. He loves the hard criticism because it's making him a much more lethal player on the court. So I hope this continues for him because he's definitely becoming a main part of this team's future.
He's become a guy that you win with. His energy is through the roof. He turns defense into offense. You see him come up with steals, turn him into easy transition baskets. He's hit the three to a degree. Like the corner three, he's hit it. He's become a guy that is going to be valued throughout the league. Not as a superstar, not as an all-star, but as a piece that every good team is going to want to have. The defensive versus, I say the two most important skills you can have in today's NBA is A, shooting, and B, defensive versatility. He clearly has B, and A is coming along quite well. Like, this is a guy that may be an absolute, and remember, we gave up nothing to get him. Nothing. We got him and a second round pick for nothing. This is gonna end up being, I think, a great value. I know his contract is up at the end of the year, but you fully expect him to be back next year, don't you, John?
Yeah, I definitely do. And the thing is, you could get him back at a discount. You could give him a $10 million salary or $11 million salary for 4 years, which amounts to around $44 million. That's a steal in this day and age in the CBA. You could get somebody like that who plays elite defense and his offense is finally growing. That is a great steal. And ultimately, I think he will be a big bench piece, but now he has a chance to potentially see what he can do as a starter. So the fact that you could have Zaire potentially be a bench piece on certain days or a starter on different days, that's versatility. You want a player that's going to continue to add nuances to his game. And Zaire's already done that with the improved three-point shot, being a rim runner, being a dunker, having that mid-range shot. He's always had the mid-range shot, but now it feels like he doesn't have to rely on it always on the court. He's finding different ways offensively to get his shot going. And his free throws have been much better too. So it's like he's finally clicking on all these different skill sets that people have been clamoring for. And he never got the opportunity. Now he is. He's making full use of it. And Jordy, I'm so proud that Jordy has challenged him this aggressively to be that pit bull, to be that defensive dog on the court. And he's just rewarding Jordy's faith and belief in him. And it's just great to hear Zaire talk about just how good the coaching did for him as far as his growth goes.
I want to address this too. Brandon Ingram would be a nice fit on this team. I love BI, and I've been on this since the offseason. If we can get Brandon Ingram in here, I would move mountains to bring Brandon Ingram in here. I know, John, I know you feel differently, correct?
It just depends. Listen, we saw what he did against us in that previous game. Listen, the first half he was excellent, but this is Ingram's career. He gives you good spurts, but then what does he do in that second half? He dies down, gets away from the game. Listen, Brandon Ingram is a skilled player, but he's like that third or fourth star you bring on a team. You already have 2 stars established. He's like that guy that helps you get to over the ultimate hilltop. But being a primary option, he is not. So it's like he's not worth $200 million. Now, if he wants to contract around 100 to maybe 130, 150, maybe we can talk about it. But if his mindset is, I want $200 million next summer, I'm Brooklyn. I'm not touching that. I'm like, listen, Ingram, you're a great scorer, but you're not a great overall player. So we should not, throw ourselves, over the line for him. If in that case, if we need to utilize that money, he could be a piece maybe towards our future, but not as a winning piece right now. Like I wouldn't do it if I was Brooklyn. Good offense, but you guys show us a lot more than just a good offense, and he hasn't really hit that ceiling yet.
Guys, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Greatly appreciate it. Make sure to leave a comment too. I would do whatever I would not whatever. I wouldn't trade our first round pick, but I would move mountains to bring in Brandon Ingram. If you could start a team with Cam, Ingram, and Cooper or Ace, you sped up that rebuild incredibly quickly. Cam is playing like an all-star. Ingram is an all-star. And then if you could bring in Cam or Dylan Harper or Ace or Cooper, you have your core. And I know Ingram's been in the league for whatever, it seems like a long time. He's only 27 or 28. He's got his peak years ahead of him. I would absolutely consider bringing in Brandon Ingram, assuming I don't have to trade one of these picks, but we're going to get into his teammate in a little bit. I don't want to stray too far off. One other comment here I wanted to address, I thought was pretty good from Galileo here. The Knicks are obviously a better team, but I do really think we can beat them based on what I've seen both teams so far this year. Yeah, the Knicks are a more talented team. Obviously, their talent, their starting five is drastically better than ours. But right now, our defense and energy is really high level, and the Knicks are not clicking. John, what are our opponents shooting off of against Karl-Anthony Towns?
Shannon Sharp, yes, he said over 91%. And
Yeah,
even
it's
last night,
92%, which
yeah,
means it is easier to score off of Karl-Anthony Towns than it is to hit a free throw.
right. And listen, that's a good one, Gary. But listen, you look at the Knicks starting five. On paper, that should amount to something close to maybe a championship, but I haven't seen it because you look at Coach Thibs. He's played these guys 40 minutes a night, and Towns almost hurt himself last night. The previous night before, Brunson almost hurt himself. You play these guys 40 minutes every night, especially on back-to-backs, they're going to either hurt themselves or they're just going to run out of gas. They can't carry it by themselves. They don't even have the depth of a bench right now. So like you said, our energy and our improved defense could give the Knicks a big fight tomorrow night. Now, they're starting five. If their only chance to beat us is if Towns and Brunson are each dropping over 30 points a game. If not, it's going to be a much closer result, regardless of if we win or if they win. I think what we got going into tomorrow night is we want that smoke. We want to bring that fight. We want to bring that grit. Are the Knicks ready for that grit? Right now, Josh Hart, he looks lost on the court a bit. He had that egregious foul last night. Last year, he wasn't doing that. This guy doesn't even know if he wants to be a starter or a bench piece. That guy was supposed to be the backbone of the team this year. He looks like the appendix of the team this year, where he wants to potentially get out of that situation. So the Knicks have a lot going against them right now, and we're only in about week 4. So let's go. I'm ready for this game tomorrow. I got the popcorn, and the s'mores ready to go.
If you're not familiar with what John is talking about, Hart fouled. Who was it? Tsuno? Who he fouled the 3-point shooter.
Kobe White. He fouled Kobe White around his head. Yeah.
He fouled Kobe White shooting a 3 with a couple of seconds up by 2, and they lost the game because Kobe White hit all 3 free throws, and that is unacceptable. No fouls, no threes. That's got to be the rules there. And he violated both of them. It was a. And I like Josh Hart as a player, but John is right. He looks completely lost in this scheme. You know, he's an odd player because he's a 6'3" or 6'4" power forward, right? So he's kind of a unique player. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just like he's one of one kind of, and it looks bad. I do want to. Well, let's address this too. Claxton better play better, or he's going to be a dumpster fire. John touched on this earlier. I'll touch on it now. Claxton, this is scary right now. Claxton. Offensive game not only hasn't gotten better since his rookie year, it's probably gotten worse. You owe him $25 million. You just paid him. And look, I think Claxton is a great player. I don't think he likes basketball. Like, I don't think he loves the game. I think he plays it because he's good at it. But there's no passion. There's no improvement in his game. He's the same player today that he was his first day in the NBA, but his offensive game may have gotten worse. John, I know you got very strong feelings on Claxton, and I like what he offers you in terms of defense, but he has zero offensive game. Is he a skinnier Mitchell Robinson? Is that all he is?
That would be horrible. Now, if he and here's this crazy thing: his defense this season, which is supposed to be his calling card. Let's forget about the offense for a second. Defensively, he's supposed to guard 1 through 4, hold down the line, and make it very close. He's had a lot more bad games on defense than he has had good games on defense. One of those only really good defensive games he had was against the Bucks, and we all know the Bucks have been through a lot of adversity against other teams. Zach Edey cooked them. Evan Mobley, he cooked them. It feels, and even last night was egregious. There's no Al Horford, there's no KP. They were facing a third string center, and that guy can hold down Claxton. Claxton can't do anything for 4 quarters. He only scored in the first opening seconds of the game. That's unacceptable. 2 field goals against Boston in 2 straight games, unacceptable. We just not seen the offensive evolution from Claxton. No jump shots. He's only taken 2. No threes. No even attempts at a 3. And he does these hook shots where he tries to throw it over the player that's guarding him. That's not going to cut it.
That doesn't work. It's ugly. It's not going in.
What Ben Simmons does.
Yeah. His offensive game is resembling that of Ben Simmons. He's better in the lob game. Yeah. I'll give him that. But his offensive game is resembling Ben Simmons' offensive game. It's not a good sign, 11 games into the season. Star traffic. I want to address this. Trey Johnson and Igor Demim. I'm not overly I know who he is. I haven't gotten to see him yet, but Trey Johnson, obviously out of Texas, can play the 1-2-3, 6'6". He can defend the 1-2-3. These are guys that we may realistically be able to get with that Milwaukee pick. I just want to put that out. It seemed like that was far-fetched, but it's not. If we can turn that Bridges trade into just one of these guys alone, the trade was worth it. Now add in, we get 5 other picks. Think about that, right? Like, if I said to you, John, right now you could trade Bridges for Trey Johnson, you'd probably think about it, right?
Oh, I definitely think about it because think about it. Johnson has this skill set bag in his arsenal, and on NBA Draft.net, he's compared to Cam Thomas. Imagine having two, imagine having two Cam Thomas type players on the team that can give you 30, 35 plus points a night. Like that would be fun. But also, my priority though with that Bucks pick would be Igor Demon, just because he's a 6'8" point guard. This guy offensively can impact the game. He can rebound. He can throw out a lot of assist passes. In many ways, listen, he gives me Ben Simmons vibes, Igor Demon, as far as what he could bring as far as versatility goes. But offensively, Igor is a way higher ceiling than Ben Simmons ever had. Let's call that out right now. But that's why I think for Brooklyn, if that Bucks pick could turn to an Igor Demon, that is great fortune for us. Because imagine you draft Ace Bailey, that's your small forward, and then you got Igor being your point guard and Thomas in the middle as a scoring guard. There's your 1, 2, 3 set in stone right there. So it's like next year's draft could really be what turns our future from being middle tier of the pack to going towards the tippy top eventually. So next year's draft really could make or break Brooklyn's whole future. And right now the cards are in our hands. We just got to hope the lotto falls in our favor. And right now it's looking like there's a good chance it could.
Anthony Powers raises a good point, and I say this about every game: win or lose, we still win. Harlem was saying, talking about the Nets going to lose to, but win or lose, the Nets win, right? Like this is kind of like the Raging Bull, like you can't lose. If you win, great. If you lose, even better, right? Like if the Nets lose the rest of their games this year, great. We finished with a top 3 pick in the draft, guaranteed. So that's great. And if the Nets win, that means the guys you want to play well are developing. So the Nets are win or lose, the Nets win this year. That's a good point. What up,
Right.
Rizzy? I wanted to get into another guy that has played with a lot of passion, playing really strong. He's playing physical. Jalen Wilson, we need to get him more minutes. He played 22 minutes yesterday. He had 11 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He had some putbacks. He hit an open 3. He played really, really well. Jalen Wilson is developing into a key piece, a key glue guy who you want here for a long time. Watching him, I wish he could teach Cam Johnson how not to be a pussy, right? Like if he could teach Cam Johnson how not to be a pussy, Cam Johnson would be a good NBA player. But you see him take the ball to the hole. He finishes, he gets the bump, finishes the shot. Like, why can't Cam Johnson, who's an infinitely more talented player than Jalen Wilson, do what Jalen Wilson is doing? Like, why can't he just do that?
You know what it is? Johnson's whole career has been defined by injuries. Remember, he got the meniscus thing and meniscus tears. It can vary on person to person. Obviously, for Johnson, it's kind of slowed down his defensive potential a bit because some nights he barely gives you defense, but on most nights now he's scoring the 3-ball well. Johnson's best asset is on offense, and right now the Nets have a chance to maybe, if Johnson can keep up. I know last time he had 9 points, but before that he had 4 games of around 20 plus points. So it's like, if you can somehow get 2 protected picks for Johnson, that's the ultimate victory I care about right now, getting some good value back for him. And Wilson, like you said, he had, even though all the team was in the minus, he was only a -5, which was one of the best for the night. Tyrese Martin had a -3, but he barely played. So I'll give Wilson the best plus or minus on the night just because he played a good amount of minutes. And he had, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 11 points. He's gotten so much better on the interior with his rebounding. This whole season's been much better. But like you said, he's got that grit and grind. He fights for rebounds. He throws out some good assists. The assist has been one of his biggest weaknesses. He's working on that this season. So from Wilson, he's really embodying what Jordy wants, both him and Zaire. They're the 2 perfect models for Jordy's program. And people are talking about growth. We're seeing it this year. Everybody should be happy right now with the results of the vets getting their values up, the young guys growing. Like you said, we're winning right now this season just because everybody's getting what they want. And the sooner the vets get traded, we're going to get more assets and position ourselves for a top pick. So Brooklyn has all the cards right now. There's no need to panic. We're right now slowly rising to the top just based off on the results we're getting right now.
A couple of other things I wanted to touch on is, and I agree with John, Jalen Wilson has played at a really high level. When they got him, I said, Kessler Edwards 2.0, and he's really turned into a really, really high level player that you want on the team. So I'm hoping Jalen Wilson cracks gets more minutes, and we're seeing him 25 plus minutes a game and continues to play like this. Someone we haven't been used to seeing. Well, first I want to we'll do this first. I'm sorry, I'm losing my brain here. Noah Clowney, second strong game out of Noah Clowney. Hit a couple open shots, played really well. You're starting to see out of Noah Clowney what you didn't see early in the year, which is him hitting shots, him with some offensive game. He's aggressive. 2 games in a row now, he's played really well. Is he off and running? Is Noah Clowney found his niche, and we're finally seeing what we were hoping to see out of him?
He's still building the confidence up, but I'm just glad to see the threes now falling. At least if he makes a 3 every game, that's good progress for him because it's going to go down. And it's great that Jordy trusts him to let the ball fly from 3. And Clowney, once that 3 starts going even more down for him, it's going to make him even more versatile. And if he could add a jump shot, you're looking at a versatile big who is getting stronger. He added 20 pounds. He added a good amount of muscles in the offseason. So it's like he's getting there. And if he keeps on adding more muscle a year or 2 from now, this guy's going to be a big dude on the court where he could give you a lot of shot blocking, he can rebound the ball, and his confidence on offense is only going to get better from here. So he's definitely meeting that potential. And not having Doe play, it just opens up more minutes. Zaire gets to start. Wilson gets more time on the court. And, for Clowney, he gets even more minutes. So the sooner the vets get traded, it's better is for these young guys because they're competing on the court. They don't want to lose either. They want to grit and grind and earn, Coach Jordy's validation for trusting in them. So, I hope these vets get traded sooner or later because these young guys are really buying into the system and trying to put out the best they can put out. So you hope sooner rather than later these young guys get more opportunities because they really are making the most of their minutes when they do get them.
Clowney only played 18 minutes yesterday. Is it time? Has he earned more minutes now? He's a guy that needs to be getting 25 minutes a game? I mean, Shake Milton played 25 minutes a game. I mean, if Shake's getting 25, and Keon Johnson played close to 25, do we need to get Clowney more minutes?
We do, and it's great that Zaire is right now starting at small forward. Like you'd want Wilson to start potentially, but Zaire is 6'9". He's got the height factor. His defense is very good right now, so he just edges out Wilson barely. But Wilson has been so key for our bench, and I really want Wilson to be a bench piece of the future because he gives you the right minutes in that second unit. He knows when to get his threes off. He knows when to get the rebounds, and the assists are becoming better. So Wilson really has a good niche for himself right now, and Zaire is trying to break that by being a starter right now. So these young guys are really doing what they got to do. But you wonder, Marks, when are you going to trade these vets? Because these young guys are saying we might not need the vets right now. We're doing the minutes for them. So you hope sooner rather than later we get these results with these vets going. So we'll see what happens there.
The other piece I wanted to touch on, Tyrese Martin finally got some tick yesterday. We haven't seen a whole lot of Tyrese Martin. I thought he played pretty well. He got 17. He played 17 minutes, scored 6 points. Didn't do much else. Didn't grab any rebounds or anything. But your thoughts on Tyrese Martin getting in the game, and meaningful minutes, not just in garbage time, but he got meaningful minutes in the first half. What were your thoughts on Tyrese Martin entering the rotation and his play?
Yeah, he shot off a 3. He was trying to make the most of his time. And this is what I hope Jordy does on back-to-backs. Play your young guys more minutes. This has been a problem with Jordy right now. In back-to-backs, you're playing Dennis 35-plus minutes. You're playing Johnson and Doe near 30 minutes. Let these young guys play around 20 minutes in these back-to-backs. Let the second half of back-to-back be the time for them to see if they can hang with the big dogs, see if they can grow their roles. Like, you don't need to throw the vets into the ground in back-to-backs. That should be a time to rest them and let these young guys get the run. Like, I hope Jordy does that next time we have a back-to-back because these young guys are fresh. They're ready to get their minutes in. They're ready to see what they can do. So you hope Jordy wants to utilize them a lot more like he is with Zaire, Wilson, and Clowney, who are main parts of our future right now.
The other piece I wanted to touch on, and this is going to sound weird, but this is a serious question. This is 2 games in a row where Cam's been extremely efficient shooting. He was 5'11", 3 for 5 from 3-point distance yesterday. Is Cam Thomas not I don't want people to laugh. This is a real question. Is Cam Thomas not shooting enough, Jonathan? Is he not? Is he not shooting enough? I'm being serious. Like, if you look at the Nets offense, is he not taking enough shots?
I mean, I think it depends on the eye perspective you're looking at, because from our perspective, I know Breezy's watching. He wants Cam to take more shots. He wants him to be the leading scorer on a night-to-night basis. But for me, I'm looking at what Coach Jordy's trying to utilize with Thomas. He wants him to be the primary two. He wants him to buy into his system, and Thomas has done that this season. He's given you efficiency nights, even if he doesn't take a lot of shots on some nights. I believe that's by design, because think about it. Thomas is in a contract year. If he goes rogue and just takes all these shots, Jordy's not going to want to give him minutes. Jordy has shown if you don't follow the program, you're not going to be in my system. And Thomas from day one has told Jordy, I'll do what you want me to do. I'll improve on my defense. He's done that. I'll improve on my assist playmaking. He's done that. And the vets haven't hit all those shots. He's improved on the rebounding. So Thomas has bought into the system. So on some nights, if it looks like Thomas isn't shooting the ball a lot, it's because he's trying to be a good teammate. I think that's a thing a lot of people could look at. He's trying to get the other guys involved, and people say, "Oh, but those guys aren't that good." Thomas, it's a rebuilding season. Get your money, get your buckets off. But it's like, if he does that, it kind of could upset Jordy, because Jordy could say, Cam, I didn't need you taking 30, 40 shots a night. I need you to be efficient. I need you to be a good, willing passer if your shot's not hitting. You saw in the Pelicans game, they kind of shut him down for 3 quarters. He was trying to get his teammates involved. 4th quarter, he took off. So I hope in this next game against the Knicks, he goes for a 50-piece, because Killer Cam obviously wants to, represent for New York. But on most nights, I think this is by design over Coach Jordy. I don't think it's that Cam is just purposely not getting the ball. It's just he needs to work on these things to be a more versatile player in the league. So I don't think people should be surprised if Cam's not giving you 40 a night. I believe he's buying into Jordy's system, and he's getting the results to get a contract.
What's going to help him get a contract? I'm being serious. What's going to help him get a contract more? Developing into a more all-around player, or averaging 30 a night? I'm asking you. It's a real question. Guys who score 30 a night get the
I believe it. I believe it's all around. As you look at the NBA media, they have already dissed Thomas before the season began. They left him out of the top 100. They put Zach LaVine, Brad Pazinski, all these guys that Thomas obviously offensively passed last year. And then Bill Simmons, a guy who doesn't ever read books on players until he actually sees them play. He said Cam is just a ball hog. You don't score. You don't do this. If you watch the first 11 games, he's done everything Jordy's want him to do. It hasn't been perfect, but he's shown the effort. And I want to see the results for Cam, because I don't want him to just be a 40, 50-point scorer the rest of his career. He's got the time now to be nuanced, to make nuances to his game, to improve on all these things. That's going to get him a contract, because you don't just want to be a good scorer. You want to be a versatile scorer, a guy who can get your teammates involved, be that leader on and off the court. That's what's going to get Cam the bag this year. So doing this right now, it's working for him. He doesn't got to give you 40, 50 points a night and then say, oh, I had my 40, 50 points, but I want to win. Have an efficient night and you'll get your bag. There's nothing wrong with what Cam's doing right now. It's what's going to get him a longer future in this team by following Jordy's system than going rogue and trying to get 50.
I want to give a shout out to Harlem, because I had some debates with him on BK's show where I said, Cam won't become a distributor. He won't become an adequate defender. He is what he is a bucket getter, but I still value that. And Harlem said he could become a passer, he could become a distributor, and he could defend better. And so far, Harlem's been right. So I want to give a shout out to Harlem. Like, so far, Harlem was right about that, and I was wrong. Cam Thomas already, just 11 games into the season, is becoming a much more well-rounded player, a much more all-around player than I thought he could become. Like, I looked at him, I said, he's a guy who can get a bunch of buckets and can do nothing else, and that's all he's ever going to be. And his defense is adequate. Like, you don't see him getting cooked all day like the last 2 years. And he's rebounding well. He's become a pretty good passer. Like, he might be the best passer on the team besides Ben Simmons, who I don't want on the team anymore. So Harlem was right. So shout out to Harlem. Shout out to Harlem. He's been right so far. The last thing I wanted to comment, finally, and I hate when Jordy does this. The last 2 games before this, he took Schroeder and Cam off the court together to start the 2nd and 4th quarter. I hate that, because now you don't have a single guy on the court who can create his own shot. He didn't do it yesterday. Now, it didn't work. They lost by 25, but taking Schroeder and Cam Thomas off the court at the same time, is that blasphemy, John? Can he just never do that again?
This is why I think you look at stuff like that, you wonder if Jordy's actually doing what Marks wants him to do, which is to not win the games, because so far Jordy's shown he wants to win, but doing stuff like that, it makes you wonder, is he okay with taking Thomas and Dennis out just because we'll get the desired result, which is not to win, but to position ourselves for the draft. If that's what Jordy's doing, props to him, because ultimately, yes, you want to win some games, but if you try to win every game, it goes against what our mission statement is. So I don't blame Jordy for that, but you do make a point. You want there to be at least somebody on there to make it competitive in the rotation. If you just have a rotation of guys that make you go, huh? You want to kind of ring on Jordy, but if Jordy does that, I'm not mad at him because it's going to get us a top pick eventually. So if he does that, it's good for us. But I can understand what you're saying there. At least maybe leave Dennis in, let him get his cardio in, because that's helps us a lot. So
The other thing I want to talk about was Nick Chaplin just put this. Gary, you're giving him too much credit. His defense, they use liability. He's talking about Killer Cam. I don't see he's not Marcus Smart. He's not Drew Holiday. I understand. He's not Herb Jones. I get it. I don't see his defense being a huge liability, not compared to where it was last year. I don't. John, are you seeing Cam Thomas get picked on, isolated, and abused like he was last year?
Not as much. And I look at that Boston game, the one where he had 31 points. Yes, Tatum did score at him at the end of the game, but for most of the game, Thomas held the zone. That was probably Thomas's best career game against Boston, because in previous games, they always went after him. Like, he was that weak link, but this game, he was the weak link. And he was against Holiday too, right? It wasn't easy for Holiday that night. So Thomas has put up a fight this season. You look at these first 2 games, he's had steals. He's been dropping on the court, going after the balls, going after rebounds and stuff like that. He's been gritty and grimy. So it's like Thomas is showing that fight on defense that he didn't show last year. And you wonder, is he just want to score? Does he not want to be a teammate? Does he not want to sacrifice his body to help the team? And he's done that this season. So I want to look at the results of Thomas showing the improvements, and he is showing the improvements. It's not perfect, but it's much better than what he was doing last season. We have to acknowledge that. Like, if he has a bad defensive game, me and Gary will acknowledge it. But if he shows you effort in a game, we're going to acknowledge that. So it's like Thomas is not a complete product yet. This is the first time he really has a coach to coach him the right way. So I hope that Thomas continues to grow in this role, continues to grow his bond with Jordy, and keeps becoming a more versatile, well-rounded player.
I wanted to address this. John sent me this yesterday. Schroeder and Bridges head-to-head. Obviously, Schroeder has been the better player this year. If we got 6 first-round picks for Bridges, what can we get for Schroeder? If we got – first of all, look, I know Ribby, I know there are Knick fans in here. Can you acknowledge at this point, whatever you think of Bridges is what you think of him, that you were fleeced, and that me and John were right, and that fans were right, that Bridges is not the player you thought he was, and 6 first-round picks may have been a bridge too far? Can the Knicks fans just admit that? When you look when you look at this, give me your reaction to this.
First, what was he thinking? Yeah.
Shoot. John's breaking up on me a little bit.
Wait, can you hear me now, Gary?
You're good now.
Yeah. My reaction is, what was Leon Rose thinking when he made this move for Mikal Bridges? Because the results clearly aren't showing up on the stat sheet, and the fact that Dennis Schroeder has better numbers than Mikal Bridges, that's just wild. That just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't.
Again, we're 11 games in. I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill here, but the start for the Knicks, 5-6, is not what you pictured. There's nothing seems to be clicking. Nothing seems to fit. It seems to be 5 individuals out there, which is the complete opposite of what you had last year. I don't know who the number 1 scoring option on the Knicks is. I think it's Karl-Anthony Towns, which it would be interesting because Jalen Brunson, during your playoff run, went Kobe mode and was giving you 40 balls every which way, and now he becomes the second option. I don't know what the Knicks' plan is this year, but right now it's not working. And like I said, Hart looks lost. Bridges is not the guy that you thought he was. I want to segue this into the next piece. Zion Williamson is on the trade block again, and I'm not saying the Nets should trade for him. I wouldn't trade for him. But can the Nets give up less for Zion that they got for Bridges? Right? Can they give up less of a haul for Zion than the Knicks gave them for Bridges. I think they can. John, give me your thoughts. I want to move into this. Give me the Nets were given the 6th best chances of landing Zion. They would have the cap space. Most teams wouldn't. What are your thoughts on Zion? And can we give up less than we got for Bridges to get him?
And it's interesting because the Pelicans season has gone really, really bad. Like
We lost John again. That's not great.
So bad, but we have to also look at this too.
John, you're breaking up pretty bad. Can you hear me? Refresh real quick, John, and come back. Refresh real quick and come back on.
Is it worth it for us to give up assets to?
We could give. This is kind of what I was thinking. We can get Zion, and we don't have to give up the farm.
Get Zion. I really don't know, Gary.
John, you're breaking up. I need you. I need you to refresh and come back. You're breaking up a lot. You're really breaking up. Like we can't hear you. We can get Zion. We don't have to give up the farm. Yeah. I just want the Knicks fans to admit that the Net fans were right, and that he wasn't the player that you thought he was. And I'm not saying he's a bad player or he's trash and that you shouldn't have traded for him. Just simply tell me, acknowledge 6 first-round picks was way too much for Mikal Bridges. And I like Bridges as a player. I think he adds value to the Knicks. I think the Knicks are better with him in than him not in, obviously. But the truth of the matter is the Knicks may have been better without him and I'm losing the big center that went to Oklahoma City. Someone I'm losing my brain here. I'll get Jonathan hang on one second. Hang on. Hartenstein. Thank you. The Knicks would have been better had they just kept Hartenstein and never made this trade with Bridges. They'd certainly be closer to beating Boston. That's for sure. You know, on paper, they look like they're better with Bridges in this, but Hartenstein added value to that team. He added size. He was a terrific offensive rebounder, and the Knicks used to win games last year off the strength of offensive rebounding. They would bludgeon you to death and just keep shooting and eventually score. You know, that's how they beat Philly. That's how they were beating Indiana. And that style of basketball has now changed. They're now a completely different team than they were last year. Let me check in with Jonathan real quick. Oh, here he is. All right. He's having some issues connecting. I'm trying to wait for Jonathan to come back on in. Isaiah Hartenstein. Yeah, Isaiah Hartenstein. That's who I was thinking. Are the Knicks just better with Hartenstein than they are with Bridges? Was it a better team last year before they made these trades, right? The Julius Randle trade, I guess you have to make that. You get a guy at the level of Julius Randle. I guess you got to have it. I mean, you get a guy at the level of Karl-Anthony Towns, and you get to trade Julius Randle. You trade Julius. I'm sorry, I'm losing my brain. I got my eye. John's having problems connecting. But you're able to trade Julius Randle, who I don't think fits in. I think he's too much of a ball stop. I think he's a liability in the playoffs, and you're able to bring in a guy at Karl-Anthony Towns level. I think obviously you have to do that. John's back. All right, John, you're a little breaking up. Let's get back to. Well, let me ask you this question first. I was going off on this. The Knicks, are they better with Bridges, or would they have been better off just keeping Hartenstein and running back what they had last year? Oh, you mute, John. John, you're muted.
They probably should have just kept the picks and went for Giannis or a bigger star, because remember, the Knicks always talk about getting the bigger stars, but to trade 6 picks for Mikal because they wanted the Villanova boys thing, that didn't work out. And then you pivoted to Towns, which, listen, offensively, it's working out somewhat, but the defense, was it really worth it to sacrifice all that? Dante DiVincenzo, who was a huge piece for them last year for Towns, so far it's not looking like that, unfortunately. And the Knicks have nobody to blame but themselves. They wanted to, do what the Nets did with the big three, but I think they went at it a worse approach. You literally went all in this summer twice, which is it's a little confusing. So I really don't think it's benefited them right now because their defense is just not keeping up for 4 whole quarters on most nights. So if the Nets are very gritty, grimy on Friday, we could really do something shocking. So we'll see what happens there. Now you're thinking about, I know you want to talk about the Zion thing a little bit.
Let me address King Ribby first. Zion doesn't want to be a Net. You guys are homers. Zion wants to be a Knicks. He's going to the Nets. Okay, so I just want to address this. First, it wasn't me that it wasn't me. It was a sports book that gave him the Nets the sixth best chance of landing him. That's A. B, I don't want to make the trade. Could you imagine him and Ben Simmons together? A, they can't shoot, and B, they would never get on the court. I'm not a proponent of making this trade, King. I was just addressing that they were given the 6th best odds of getting him. And also, Zion wanted to go to the Knicks to play with Broadway Barrett and Cam Reddish when they were there. They ain't there anymore. So what makes you think he wants to go to the Knicks? But, John, I'll let you address the Zion Williamson thing.
Listen, you like you said, it could be an interesting idea, but the injury situation for Zion just doesn't make you feel confident as far as him being a franchise guy. Like, this was supposed to be a year the Pelicans finally put it all together, and before 3 games were done, half the team was on the IL. So it just makes you wonder, is Zion really a top option, a secondary option? Is he a 3rd or 4th option? You really don't know because he can never stay healthy when it matters most. So I probably wouldn't trade for him in the offseason because what do the Pelicans want? Do they want multiple prospects for him? Do you want 3 to 4 picks? Right now, I think the Nets, if they wanted to trade for Zion, let's be hypothetical. Let's say that Zion was out the rest of the season. He's not coming back. And the Nets, we still have Ben Simmons on this team, and we kind of want to get rid of him. Would the Pelicans be interested in a Ben Simmons and 3 to 4 first-round draft picks for Zion? It's a thought. I mean, it's probably not what everybody wants to do, but that would probably be the only way you could get Zion, hypothetically, is if you traded them Ben. And given the Pelicans season looks like it's not possibly going to go anywhere, would the Pelicans want to gamble on getting free cap space, getting some draft picks, or they want to gamble on that Bucks pick potentially falling in 1 through 4? Maybe. But for Brooklyn, if we had a chance of getting Zion and then drafting a top player, it would be interesting. But like you said, it's not probably worth it because Zion has a lot of red flags, primarily not being able to stay healthy.
The Pelicans are in an interesting position because they don't have a ton of bad contracts. DeJounte Murray's making $30 million. CJ's making $30 million next year. You got Herb Jones making 13. You got Trey Murphy making 25. You got Jordan Hawkins making less than 5. You got some good contracts. You don't really have bad contracts. My point is they have some good bones. They have good pieces. They just need a superstar now, right? And if they trade Zion because it's not working, can New Orleans attract another superstar? Would there be a superstar that wanted to go to New Orleans, right? Because I still look at their team and I'm saying they're just missing their superstar. Now, Zion's hurt all the time. He sits out games. He sits out playoff series. Would they be willing to trade him, or do you think they would just be like, they're going to make this thing work? Like, Zion's going to get on the court, and we're going to move forward with Zion. We have him locked up for 3 more years.
It just feels like Zion and the Pelicans never clicked. I mean, yes, Ribby, a while ago when Zion was just coming into the league, there were some rumors out there that he wanted to be a Knick. Well, guess what? You're stuck with Mikal. You just paid 6 picks for him, so enjoy that for the next 3 to 4 years while we potentially get a star or two. So whoop-de-day, right? But yeah, you look at it, just Zion doesn't seem like he's ever clicked on the Pelicans. He called out on the coach last year saying he didn't feel like they were utilizing him the right way. So Zion already showed that there was some discontent there a little bit. So for us right now, we're in a good position. We could potentially get a star down the line, but I don't know if it's Zion. And the Pelicans right now, they just don't look like they can put it all together, unfortunately. They went all in on Zion, and it just hasn't panned out. But they already have 2 young pieces. They got Herb Jones. They got Trey Murphy. So it's not like they just would be starting from complete scratch. They have a few young guys. So if they trade Zion, they could get something back for him. But if they don't trade him this summer, if they don't win this season, you're going to probably get less for Zion. So it might be this season or next summer to get off of Zion if he can't come back. That's what it's just looking like, because I don't think the Pelicans really could attract another star. They're just not that big of a market. And right now, in the Zion era, they haven't really made a lot of headway.
I want to move. I think we agree on Zion. The last thing I want to touch on, obviously, is the next game, tomorrow's game. No game tonight. You got the Knicks. And before the season started, I really wasn't hyped for these games, you guys. I thought there was just no chance the Nets could win these games. Like, the Nets aren't going to beat the Knicks. Now I'm not so sure. So I think the Nets, the way they're playing, plus the way the Knicks are playing, they're playing them at the right time. I'd be happy with the split if they could win both of these games. Season complete for me. If they could beat them twice in 3 days, I mean, at the Garden, I don't think it gets any better than that. But I want to ask you, John, Zaire Williams has been playing well. If Zion Williams is starting and DFS is not playing again, if he still has his injury, is that a tell-all sign that DFS is out and Zaire is starting moving forward?
Probably the best news would be if he's not playing tomorrow, there's a chance he could be gone, because why else would he miss 3 straight games for a minor injury? So for us right now, if Zaire gets a start tomorrow, that's good for him, keeps building his confidence up. But if those not playing tomorrow and these vets are going to start getting traded off, it's great for our future, because ultimately you want to get good assets back these vets and move forward. We go big tomorrow. We pull something off shocking because it's a midseason tournament game. Higher expectations, a chance for gold. So I hope the Nets bring a lot of fight tomorrow, because we've already shown we could have a better record than the Knicks, which nobody thought was possible. So we've already shown we could be slightly better than them, even though that's not what our goals are this season. So we've already done more than enough to show the Knicks we're right there with them as far as compete goes.
If it was up to you, I'm giving you Jordi Fernandez's job for the day. Who are you starting, Zaire or Clowney? Assuming DFS is hurt.
That's a good question. I really like right now Zaire playing with Claxton. I feel like that's made the bigs on offense a little more versatile. I think Clowney's moment will come when Johnson's traded. I would really like to see Zaire, Clowney, and Claxton start together. I feel like there's so much potential there on defense and maybe offense. So I hope sooner rather than later the vets get traded, we can see what that front court looks like, because all 3 of the guys together could be a balanced unit for the Nets to test out the rest of the year. So I would definitely want to start Zaire with Claxton, and if maybe Johnson doesn't play on Friday. Hey, what if Johnson doesn't play? Then you could put Clowney in that starting unit. So
what if Johnson gets injured? What if Johnson gets injured too?
Yeah.
What if Johnson hurts his vagina and can't play? I mean, it's a possibility.
Whoa, Gary, you got some inside information there that we should be knowing about?
Cam Johnson has been playing okay. He's been playing better here. I'm just not a fan. I think he's a 6'8", 6'9" power forward that plays like a 6'4" wing. It's just I don't like Cam Johnson. There's no reason why he can't get 6. If he's playing 32, 34 minutes a game, there's no reason why he can't get 6 rebounds a game. And there's just like no way he can. I'm tired of watching Cam Johnson not being able to finish out the hole. I'm tired of watching him not get any rebounds. I'm just tired of Cam Johnson. I don't value him. Right? And I understand he's played better this year and he shot the ball better. I want him gone, and whatever I can get for him, I can get for him.
Yeah, Gary, we're gonna get a reunion of the twins tomorrow. Who's gonna be the better twin? I don't care. I don't care who's a better twin. They're not actual twins. They're not even biologically similar in that sense. They're not actually blood related. But listen. Imagine Johnson having a better game than Mikal tomorrow. How many people are gonna be bragging about that? Great. That means we could get 3 first-round draft picks for Johnson if he's better than his twin tomorrow.
You want Cam?
Nah,
You
but
want Cam Johnson, Nick? You want to reunite the Twins? Give me 6 more first-round picks. I'll give you Cam Johnson.
no, seriously. But I think tomorrow's a great test for Brooklyn. We're going to Madison Square Garden, the mecca of the sports world. If we somehow pull off a win, we already won the damn season. That means we could trade these vets for a lot of good assets after that because the Knicks are supposed to be one of the best teams in the East. So if Brooklyn, we could cross that bridge and beat them in their own home court. That's bragging rights the rest of the season. So that's what I would look forward to. But as far as tomorrow goes, I just want to see a fun fight game and the fan base coming out with roaring and ready to go.
Agreed, John. Appreciate your time. Thanks for jumping on with me. Tell them where
Well,
they can
Gary.
find you and any last thoughts about either anything we talked about today or the Knicks game tomorrow.
No problem, Gary. Always great talking fun basketball with you. Thanks for the comment section, people, today. A lot of people asking some great questions. Nets is still cooking the Knicks tomorrow. If you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me at OS91413John. We'll have some great conversations. Zaire Williams was definitely a headliner last night. He's definitely earning every opportunity he gets. If he starts tomorrow, that would be great for just his confidence, especially playing a huge game against the Knicks. Now, if DFS doesn't play tomorrow, we could definitely on the next show talk about if DFS is out the door because there's no way to be missing 3 straight games on a minor injury. So if he's not playing tomorrow, it definitely signals that the vets could be out the door very soon. So I look forward to seeing what happens tomorrow, which team comes out on top. Let's go, Brooklyn.
John, it's always great having good show today, by the way. That was a fiery
Fun
show.
show.
Shout out to the chat. Great questions, great comments. Again, they could just beat the Knicks. It's season complete. I don't care if they lose the rest of their games. Just beat the Knicks, and I'm happy. All right, y'all. It's November 14th.
Wait, so Gary, you think the Nets are going to win the midseason tournament? You think the Nets are going to win the midseason tournament?
No, but I think they're going to beat the Knicks, which is good enough for me, right? It's just like if Texas beats Oklahoma, it was a good season. If the Nets beat the Knicks, it's a good season. I'm happy. We're good.
Bye.
All right, y'all. From Texas to the world, thank you, and God bless.
Peace.